Good evening and welcome to Creative Conversations. Tonight, my guest is my very good friend, John Bedford Lloyd. You know him from Ozark on Netflix, from The Bourne Supremacy in the movies, and on Broadway from The Rainmaker and Some Americans Abroad. Please welcome my fire pit buddy, John Bedford Lloyd. Hey there, how you doing?
Hey, very good, Matthew. How you doing?
I'm good. Glad to have you here.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So you just got back from Atlanta.
Yeah. Almost done with Ozark for the fourth season. Very, very grateful to be working. Had no idea what to expect. Did not elected to drive down. I didn't want to fly. So I drove down. That was a little bit of an adventure. I haven't done that in a long time. My biggest concern was what it would be like to be surrounded by a lot of other people, wearing masks. Everybody gets tested all the time. It took a while to feel anywhere near normal. They take it very, very seriously. All the shows do. This one, Ozark particularly. But you realize when they're about to roll, you and this other guy, this other actor, you're the only one not wearing masks. And you look around and you see all these, you see 25, 35 people in the crew, and they're all wearing masks, and you go, huh. What's up? Look at this.
What do they know that I don't know?
Well, the whole thing is based on, obviously, trust, first and foremost, which is, and then I mean that very seriously. But it's also based on everybody getting tested a lot. And this was also right after they took Thanksgiving off, obviously, and then they did a quarantine week, and then they came to work. So everybody had 5-6 days. I was bouncing off the walls in a hotel in Atlanta. Just you can't really do anything. You can't talk to anybody. You can't hang out. It's a very, very different experience. But based on today's news and watching people get stuck with a needle, it is, it may be, I'm watching that young lady in the chair getting her needle, I'm getting a little, getting a little teary.
Yeah. And, so, we all know from your work, you cry at the drop of a hat. You're just,
Well, that's why I get hired, because I'm the softie.
The softie on all the shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to take you back pre-pandemic, pre all of this craziness. Yep. I like to ask people, a little bit about their origin story, how they came to this. I know I came to it really, really young. You came to it a little later. This was not what your focus was going to be.
Oh no, I was on my way to being a really, really mediocre orthopedic surgeon. I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I had my knee operated on when I was 17. And cartilage in the left medial meniscus. Yeah, I remember that. It was put into my head by my parents, hey, why don't you be a doctor? Why don't you try it? It sounds like it would be a good thing to do. So I thought, sure. So from the time I was 13 up until I started to take courses at college, I was sure I was going to be a doctor. And having my knee operated on by really some of the coolest guys I'd ever met, orthopedic surgeons, are very just cool, wonderful guys. I thought, this is a world that this looks great. Sign me up. So I got to college and started taking all the courses and was getting grades that I could count up on my hands and feet. And it was very difficult. And then a friend of mine, a guy named Kevin O'Rourke, we were walking around the quad at Williams College one January. We were drunk, and he said, hey, you want to be in this play we're doing? You want to be in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? That was 1975 when a large white guy could play a large Native American. That would no longer have been my origin story anymore.
In college.
In college, yeah, but still, I did it. I found an incredible second family, and I just didn't look back. That was halfway through my freshman year in college, and I'll tell you, for a year or so after that, I would walk down the street and I'd see guys in white lab coats at doctors' offices or around a hospital setting. It took a couple of years, and I went, maybe but then it passed fairly quickly.
See, you dodged the bullet early. I went all the way through law school and then practiced for 5 years before I finally quit to come back to this.
But you were able to do it. You had the brain to embrace the study of law. I failed every single course I took.
Yeah, but I think I did graduate in my portion of my law school that made the top 90% possible. I think.
We all have to be the basement for everything to be built upon.
But that's because I really knew I didn't want to be there. I sort of felt like, the difference between the lowest grade on the bar exam is still a lawyer, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, it's like the University of Grenada Medical School. I mean,
yeah. Well, I wasn't that bad. I did go to a decent medical school. I mean, decent law school. So
there you go.
Yeah. But so you came to it a little late, but then you ended up getting into Yale School of Drama, right?
Well, yeah, the school I was at, Williams College, very small school, very small theater department. So, God, there were very few actors. So I was a big fish in a very small pond. So I got great parts, and I had great experiences, and I had great roles. Thank God. A bigger school, it might not have happened. And yeah, I went to drama school at Yale and spent 3 years there. Left college for 1 year. Couldn't really take it. Was confused. Wasn't very happy. But went to New York. Actually went to threw resumes and pictures underneath agents' doors up and down Broadway and 7th Avenue.
Back in the day when we could do that.
That's right. But it didn't really do any good. I heard. I'd hear somebody walk over to the door, pick it up, listen to the ruffle of paper. The large envelope would open up, and then I'd just hear it crinkle and go into a wastebasket on the other side of the door. Never, ever. I stapled so many freaking resumes onto 8x10s, and anyway. So yeah, I went to the Yale Drama School, and it was a great place to be, to make a lot of mistakes for 3 years. The right. Now,
who was in your class there? Who were you in school with there? Were you in Amy Aquino's class?
No, she was after Fran McDormand, Kate Burton, Jane Kasmerick, Robert Curtis Brown.
Rob's a friend of mine. Rob was on the show a few months ago.
That's what I hear. I've heard that. I heard that. Yeah. And then, got out, and lucky, I was able to get work, and so it's been okay.
So, your Broadway debut was in Some Americans Abroad,
right? With Kate, and it was Richard Nelson play. We started out the Vivian. No, what's the small theater? Mitzi Newhouse. I always want to say Mitzi Gaynor.
That's the really small theater.
My father loved Mitzi Gaynor. She'd come on late night, and he'd go, "I always liked Mitzi Gaynor." He did. He really liked her. And then we went up. It was a big deal. It was like very exciting. We went upstairs. So that was to the Vivian Beaumont, and it was a wonderful experience. Roger Michelle, most people know as a film director, who's brilliant. It's like one of the best directors I ever worked with. and he directed that, and it was he was great. I wish I could see him again at the least and work with him again somewhere.
So, so Broadway and then some television. I want to ask about, so you went to Yale and studied all that highfalutin acting stuff,
Yeah.
right? And now you've been a working actor for a long time. Do you think in terms of method or toolbox?
Oh, Toolbox being everything?
Yeah.
Oh, method being only one thing?
Yeah. Do you have your approach, or do you tailor it to the project?
My approach is find as many laughs as you possibly can, and a couple of really cool props. No, toolbox. Just because sometimes it comes easy, and then you don't really have to force it. But
Right.
when it doesn't come easy, if it isn't the words, if it isn't your collaborators, it's you. So you figure out. Usually, in my case, it's usually let's see how little I can do, how few calories I can burn, communicating the story of this particular person that I might be playing. Because I usually get into the most trouble when I do too much. Anthony Hopkins, there was an incredible article about him about a few weeks ago in the Times about the newest movie that he has coming out with Olivia Colman, in which he plays a Alzheimer's, a dad with Alzheimer's. And he said the greatest thing. He said actors do too much because they're scared to just be. They feel the need to. They feel the need to do more because they're scared to just be there, and they want to put on blankets of more stuff. And it's very, very hard to do less. And if it's the one thing I figure I'm learning more about every year, and that's why I want to keep working, because I want to keep trying to do it.
It is the best. It is the best feeling when you can do very little. And that's, again, the lesson that I've had to learn over and over again. Dan Sullivan pushed me and pushed me. Well, he didn't push me to do very little. He kept taking things away no matter what I tried, until I finally decided, okay, I'm just going to go out there tonight and do absolutely nothing.
It's I don't know who said it. It was called "Acting is the art of doing nothing well." It's not just being a zombie. It's realizing that another thing that Hopkins said is you learn the lines, you hit your marks, and you think the thoughts, and that's it. You don't have to. But when the words aren't really good, or the situation is not to your liking, or a little too frenzied, or out of control, or you don't have enough time, or the circumstances really aren't what you'd like, you can go back to all that bullshit that I always used to do and still do sometimes, just because I'd be more secure here if I did this, which would be some old trick that would make me feel more secure, which gets in my way and doesn't help me at all.
Right. I always found that it's amazing how much work the audience is willing to do for you.
Yeah. You ride the story. You don't have to, you just ride the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. and the words. But then, when you're working on a film such as I don't know, maybe Chud, for instance, is that a did
Without looking at your notes, can you say what Chud stands for?
cannibal humanoid underground dwellers?
What was the first word?
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
Very good.
And I didn't even have that in my notes. I just remember that.
Yeah, well, you don't forget that. Yeah,
You never forget your first Chud.
I was in there for about 8 seconds. Danny Stern. I did a series with Danny a few years later, but that was the first time I'd ever met him. And they needed somebody who was his height, and to scare him. I'm in the movie for like 9.5 seconds, if that. I remember I was incredibly hungover when I showed up, and it was very, very, very hot out. But my first scene, Danny was supposed to be making a phone call at a payphone. At the time, it was a dime, and he put the dime in and the director said, we're going to roll here. Just do something that would intimidate Danny. So I remember went over and he put the dime in, and I hit the clicker deal, and the dime went down into the bottom thing, and I picked it up, and I ate the dime, and that was my but I didn't actually eat the dime, of course. That was pretty much all I did in that movie, Matthew, but thanks so much for bringing it up.
Okay. Definitely not method, though, if you didn't eat the dime.
Smart, but not method.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis would have eaten the dime, just so you know.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think he would have eaten the dime. So you and I met, I think, the first time up at the O'Neill with said Kevin O'Rourke.
Yeah.
We went to go get lobster rolls.
Right. At that little place in New London?
Yeah.
Right.
And so you go to these kinds of places where people work on new plays.
The best.
And I'd love you to talk about that a little bit, that collaborative process of working with a playwright on a new work and what it's like for you to be in that room.
Well, it's great. It all depends on how willing the playwright is depends where their ego is at. At the O'Neill, the playwrights are, I guess I did 2 or 3 summers there. The playwrights were younger or newer, but they knew what they were there for. They were there to have their play get better. So it was extraordinary experiences. These were playwrights who were willing to listen and didn't get their backs up. And they had a dramaturg, very smart folks, sitting right next to him. Max Wilk comes to mind. Wow. But the problem is, nothing is really better than working on a new play that has real hope in it, even if it's not perfect yet. The devastating thing is, and this has happened to me in one instance, that the most difficult was when the playwright won't budge and the director doesn't have the stones or the smarts to help that playwright see the light, so to speak. And if the actors can't get through to them either, so it can be a beautiful, beautiful experience. At the O'Neill, it always was, but if the playwright is not willing to move, it can be very difficult.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to work a lot for the past gosh, 11 years now at South Coast Rep,
Yep.
both in full productions and in just countless workshops. And again, it's that same situation where the playwrights know why they're there. You know, they are at South Coast Rep to go through the mill. And then we've got people like, you know, Jerry Patch or John Glore, who are just fantastic dramaturgs, and they're in the room, and you're working it.
Yeah.
You're really helping the playwright shape it. And I just think there's nothing more fun than being in on the ground floor with something that has some legs
Yeah.
and is going to end up going somewhere.
Mhm.
Have you seen a difference between, because this is something I talk to my students a lot about, is being in that room and the way as an actor you can take the temperature of that room and make sure that you're in that room at the next workshop of that play. Because I've seen lots of actors who aren't there at the next workshop.
Well, you don't want to. There, a lot of actors can be like to hear themselves talk, and that happens sometimes because they think they may have the key to fix the whole thing.
Right.
If pretty soon with a play, when it's brand new, you can tell by the way that the playwright is responding to what people are saying. You can find out that they're willing to take the ride to make the play be better or to grow. But if that playwright is not willing to listen to anybody, if there are walls going up, personally, I don't want to be in that room next time on that workshop, the next time it's done.
Well, but what about the flip side, though? Because what about the playwright who does want to hear productive input and the actors who don't know how to give the productive input?
Well, you know, it's terribly difficult. You think about how many really extraordinary plays are being seeded right now. I mean, I think that with this last year that's gone by, with things have just come to a screeching halt. God, please let these artistic directors at these nonprofits or the big name money producers or the out of town rep companies, God willing, they have some work that they can't wait to work on because it's maybe backed up a little bit and there's
Right.
more. The larder is full. But it's really, really hard to find a really great play. And there, Will Arbery, do you know him?
No.
He's a not a young playwright, but he's been around. He's extraordinary, and he's a guy that I want to be in that room every single time. And I see him as a real strong voice as soon as we get back on stage somewhere.
What kinds of roles do you see that there's a type of role that you are thought of for stage versus what you're thought of for film or television? Because in my career, I've noticed a radical difference between the stuff that I do on stage and the stuff that I do on television.
Television and film, I'm usually either the waspy, authoritative bad guy, or I'm the blue collar, really bad guy. And on stage, thank God, and I miss it desperately, I've actually been able to do comedy, Ethan Cohen's plays, and I miss it enormously. But I often, because of my size and because I'm a little scary looking, I play the bad guy or the guy who scares people. But I miss desperately playing comedy, which the last time I did it was on stage.
What was that?
Ethan Cohen's plays, Offices, it was called. It was a set of, it was at the Atlantic. It was just delightful because, you know, I play the heavy a lot, and it was nice to play the bumbling father and the idiot office worker and you know, it was a delight.
So when you were down on Ozark, you've been working down there with one of my favorite actors in the whole world.
Yes. Lisa Emery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is most of your stuff with Lisa?
It is now. It was with Jason. It was mostly always with Jason Bateman and a little teeny bit with Julia Garner. But I can't, most of the stuff has been and will be with her. Yes.
She, yeah. Well, we've traded some good stories for you to bring back and forth.
None of which we can speak of right now.
None of which we can talk about here, but they're pretty good stories. For, you know, send a 25-cent stamped envelope, and we'll send the printed story back to you.
Right. Soupy Sales told the kids.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. Are there particular themes that you are attracted to when you're looking at stage work that you want to do?
No, just a good play.
Just a good play.
It's just a good play, but they're hard to come by because they're often the parts that I want to do in a good play. They want somebody who will sell a lot more tickets than I will upon releasing the cast list.
Right.
So it's, you know, and it's a long slog. It's a lot of work, and it's not a lot of money. But there are plays, particularly by this guy named Will Arbery, and you know, you go, yeah, if it's really good. So themes, no, just if it's good enough.
But what does that mean to you? Because
if it's just a well written, if it's
we're
talking new plays here, just a character that's got 3 dimensions and in a good play. It's as simple as that. I mean, again, there's stuff that I read and I look at it and I say, well, that's something I can do, and I've done it, and I don't need to do it again. Like the kinds of parts I so often play.
Right.
In a play, you know, in a film or a television show, you go, okay, you know, you're not in it for the long haul. It's much more financially rewarding. You're in, you're out, and it's always fun. I mean, it's always a gas to show up on a set. A play, unless it really, really grabs you, it's such a time, emotion, commitment. It's got to be great, and they're hard to find.
Okay, but that's what I want to press you on. Is you've said a couple of times a good play or a great play, but that's not an objective standard. What is that to you?
Oh, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. That takes you to a world or takes me to a world that I don't know about, or gives me angle on a world that I might know about, but lets me know something about that world that is completely new and is being told in a new way. That lets me know something new about that world I might have thought I knew. That's surprising. That's got balls. That's got an edge.
Okay. And are you looking for something that is, well, I'll open the door to part of what I'm driving at is I believe really strongly in the healing or redemptive power of story.
Sure, but that comes with that almost goes without saying. So, but it's good that you said it. You're right. It takes us. It doesn't make us better or smarter than we were when we walked into the theater. Yeah, yeah.
And that builds because when I hear you say, something that takes me to a place that I haven't been, hopefully what it's doing is taking the audience to a place that it hasn't been,
Right.
and understanding something like, understanding somebody who is different than I am.
Right.
Which brings us to something that I know is really important to you is the work that you do in the prisons.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? What brought you to that work, and what exactly is it?
Well, there's an organization in Katona where we both reside right now, called Rehabilitation Through the Arts. It's called RTA. They're in 5 prisons in one female maximum facility, Bedford Hills. My wife, actually, Ann Toomey, was running that theater department previous to COVID. It's in Sing Sing, a max. It's in Woodburn, and it's also in Greenhaven Correctional Facility in Stormville, New York, which is the place that I have been going to for about 13 years up until last March. And I tripped over it. Somebody told me about it. I asked the lady who ran it. I went up and I audited a class, just watched some guys doing a class, and I said, I'm hooked. I'm in. That's it. So I was able to start the program at Greenhaven because they didn't have one yet, and they'd heard about it at Sing Sing, and they wanted to bring a program in. So I was lucky enough to be able to start it. We started it with 14 guys, and you are bringing something you love, the theater, acting, playing, to guys who are in desperate need of those things, of being able to walk down a hallway in truly one of the worst buildings I've ever been in my life. Walk down a hallway, walk into a room with myself and 15, 16, 17, 18 other guys, and they're not in prison anymore. They this is their words, not mine. They use the word mask all the time. They get to walk into a class and they get to drop the mask that they have to wear, they feel they have to wear, although some of them really do have to wear it, just to survive in a maximum security environment. They write I think the best plays we did were the ones the guys wrote themselves. They write, they sing, I directed the first 4 plays: Jitney, Time of Your Life, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Macbeth. And these guys, they soar. They just soar. They come in and they're on the ground floor. And then when these plays are done, they find out that if they sacrifice this, this, and this, and this for the sake of the whole, what they get is immeasurable. And to see their faces after we do these plays, I walk out of that prison every single time and go, God, I'm lucky to be able to go in there and do this work. And the kinds of things they say to me, unprompted, just we always do a circle up in the beginning of the class and everybody checks in. And one time we were just talking about the last workshop we'd done. And one of these guys, he turned to me and he just said, "Hey, John." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "This place, this is where dreams come true." And it's true. It's true for us on the outside. It's even more true for them on the inside. They find out for themselves and from their peers that they're funny, they're smart, they can write, they can sing, they can dance, they can memorize a shitload of lines. They find out all these incredible things that they didn't know they knew how to do, because a lot of their educational systems, them in the educational system they were in, was often not very successful. And they find out that they are very, very worthy individuals in a way that is not what they've been used to. It's great. RTA, rehabilitation through the arts. And with vaccines, the prison populations are getting the vaccines, I think, pretty darn early. And I think we may be back sooner than I thought. There was a time there I never thought I'd be going back inside again. But it's going to be, I think, sooner than we think.
Really, and if they're able to get the vaccine earlier, will you, as somebody who works there, be vaccinated earlier so you can get back into the system?
No, this is volunteer work. So if I worked in the prison,
gotcha.
No, this is strictly volunteer operation. But yeah, it's going to be a lot sooner than I thought.
So I know that you did Midsummer Night's Dream. You were Puck? You were Puck, right?
In a Speedo. Puck, yeah. God,
what I would give
play Puck.
What I would give to see you in a Speedo.
No, you don't have enough. Nobody
at the fire pit, maybe. Maybe you wear a Speedo to the fire pit one night.
Yeah, maybe some Bitcoin.
Who were you, if not Puck?
Oberon. I was Oberon.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know if somehow I think you, Mickey Rooney, I think of you in
that's the, but that's the part about comedy, because you get to be the guy that you're sometimes not often, you're not perceived as. You just get to be another different guy with comedy. I mean, it's been so long. I miss it so much.
Then I saw when I was reading up on the bio that you sent me that you had a fight with my last guest, because on the bio that you sent me, it said that you were crossing Delaney.
Who said that?
On the bio that you sent me, it says Crossing Delaney.
Well, that's a very unknown film.
Yeah, I happen to know that it was Crossing Delancey, but
Delaney on that's terrible.
Pardon?
That's terrible. It's not spelled right, is it?
I fixed it.
Oh, good. Thank God.
I fixed it. And I noticed on your bio too a couple of historical pieces that you worked on, Nixon and John Adams.
They were amazing. John Adams, especially. Paul Giamatti was so great. But I'll tell you something. I'd never done a full period film. The detail, it was extraordinary. I mean, this is why doing good films or good TV, but particularly good film with some money in the production, is so fascinating, because you walk into this situation and every single department, they're geniuses in their own department. And especially with John Adams, you walk in and you're working with the best dialectician in the world, who's trying to help you create a sound that is not quite English, not quite American, something in between. So we had to find what that was. You're working with these brilliant costume designers who are realizing through enormous amounts of research what people actually look like. And the part that was the most fascinating was they said to us, okay, how old are you? At the time, I guess I was like, I don't know, late 50s or mid 50s. They said, okay, we're going to take every single part of your skin on your face that has any signs of any aging, and we're going to multiply that by 50, because people didn't use sunblock, people didn't wear hats, people didn't do. So you sit there with these makeup artists, and they're turning you into what you would have been if you lived then. And it was just genius, just extraordinary to watch it all happen. And Nixon was great because I got to work with Anthony Hopkins. That was amazing.
Who did you play in Nixon?
Well, again, it's casting that would not be allowed. I played an evil Cuban.
Ah.
An evil Cuban man who was involved in the assassination. But do we have time for a quick, yes, Anthony Hopkins story?
Yeah, please.
Oh, boy. Well, he's always been like my favorite actor in the whole world. Always, always, always. And so I'm in the movie like 3 or 4 scenes. It's not Hamlet. And so for some reason Oliver Stone wanted all the actors to show up and rehearse in Santa Monica. So I'm like in New York, and they go, you got to fly to Santa Monica and rehearse for 2 days with Anthony Hopkins and Oliver Stone. I said, sure, but okay, yeah. So I show up. I'm quite nervous, and we're sitting around a big table. Oliver Stone at one end, the dialect person at the other end for my Cuban accent, and Anthony Hopkins walks in. You know, I stand up, we all stand up. He sits down. He has a big brown paper bag with him that he puts underneath the table. We didn't think anything of it. So we started doing the scenes, and the dialect coach was helping me, but also very much helping him with the sound of Nixon's sound. And so at one point, Anthony Hopkins reaches underneath the table into the brown paper bag and pulls out a Nixon mask, a very realistic looking Nixon mask, that puts it on and starts to fool around playing Nixon. And then he takes it off, and he says to Oliver Stone, very sincerely, he said, Oliver, I can't do this role. I can't, I'm not, he was so scared, Matthew. He was, and I felt like I should disappear. Like, how do I disappear from this scene? And he was sincerely saying how worried he was. I guess it was his first time saying the words out loud. How scared he was about doing this part. And he was truly, truly nervous and worried. And I thought, I was looking at him going, God bless you. You know, you are worried. You, Anthony Hopkins, are worried about this role. So basically, he gives everybody permission forever and ever to not worry about being worried about a role.
Yeah.
And it was, then we did, the scenes I was in was when he was planning the assassination. It was not historically accurate, as best I can tell, the movie. And I was watching him do these incredible scenes that and I had just a little bit to do in these scenes, and it was mostly him. And I remember going up to him afterwards, and I said, Mr. Hopkins, I just thought you really great. It was just great. And it was like, he just was like, really wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And that was because I saw him so concerned before, and there he was just being incredible. But it was a good thing to get to be able to see.
Yeah, I had one role like that where I was offered a role, and I said to the director and the playwright, I said, "Do you know that I can do this? Because
Yep.
I don't know that I can do this, and I'm gonna need you to know that I can do it to get me through it, because I don't know that I can do it."
Yeah, yeah.
And that was a hell of a ride. But but it was also one of the most exciting things I've ever done. You know, when we get those chances to say, I'm going to try to climb a mountain that I don't know I can climb.
Yep. Yep.
Which we, in television and such, we don't often get to do that.
No, because it's in little bitsy witsy pieces. You're not doing it. You're running little baby sprints, and if you fall down on one of the little sprints, you get up and, can I do that? Yeah, you can do it again. But with a play, I mean, I did the Winter's Tale at Williamstown about 15 years ago, and I was scared to death. And it was like that. It was like, can I climb this mountain? I remember the first day I had to do 2 shows. I thought to myself, oh, okay, well, you're going to find out something today. As the second show is about to begin, I'm like, whipped, just spent. And I go, okay, well, let's go do this. Let's see how this goes.
So what do you think that people who want to do what you do should do?
Not do it. No, I'm very serious. They shouldn't do it, but they should. But they shouldn't.
But they should.
But they must. I can't go on. You must go on. I'll go on. Last 3 lines of Waiting for Godot. So you got young men and women who want to do this. They just do it. That you go for it as hard as you can, and for as long as you can, with as much commitment to it as you can. As an actor, as an actor, if that's what you want to do, but the odds are against you. But it might work out. But if it doesn't work out, the thing that most young actors forget about is that if you love acting, it's also because you love the world of the theater and show business and show folk and all that other stuff. You love telling stories. That's what it's all about. So there's a lot of really good jobs other than being an actor in this world. There's lots and lots of fascinating jobs. I'm not sure I know anybody who is in this business and not as an actor, who didn't start as an actor in middle school or high school, and they fell in love with the world. They just fell in love with the world, the people, the family that is this whole thing. And but as far as acting is concerned, you do it as full tilt as you can until there's so many things telling you that you can't, that it's just pretty clear that maybe you should try something else.
Right.
But it can be absolutely brutal. It can be brutal because you don't do it because you're on the fence about it. You do it because you love it. But stay in the world. Stay in the world of storytelling, because that's all it is.
I wish that I could convey to to some of my students. It's interesting. I found when I moved out to California 10 years ago, I found a completely different kind of student in California than I found in New York.
What kind of student is that?
There's an abundance of people who figure they'll give the acting thing a try.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're really pretty, if you're remarkably good looking, or even kind of good looking, and you don't necessarily have to be a particularly good actor to make money.
No, but there are certain things you do have to be able to do.
Yeah, the basics.
No, but that's what I'm talking. But even the basics are incredibly difficult,
Yeah.
particularly now. I mean, one of the questions I ask students when they're coming into my on-camera audition class is I say to them, how much you get a call from your agent, you have an audition, you go to the audition, you get a call back. You go to the producer's session, you get the job. You get the call from your agent that you have the job. How much rehearsal time do you have between that phone call and a take that is going to end up in the finished product and be broadcast out to the world?
Mm-hmm.
And they all think they have at least 5 or 6 hours of rehearsal and maybe a couple of days.
I mean, when they show up?
From the time that they get the call that they have the job to the time when the director says action on a take that is going to be in the finished product.
Got it.
And they don't understand that they have maybe a minute of rehearsal, maybe on a good day, but it's usually let's shoot the rehearsal. And they don't get that they have to show up ready, period, to go. Mm-hmm. And they come to class and they wander through their scene and they're not off book. And they all have this attitude, well, I'll do it on the day.
Well, you don't learn anything that way.
No, you don't learn anything. You don't learn how to, and my brother Tony, and he called me this a few months before the pandemic, I guess. And he had just had one day on something and he was wiped out. And we were talking about how there's almost no job harder than one day on a TV series, because there's only one thing that can go wrong, and it's you.
That's right. Who's the new guy? Oh, he's fucking up.
Yeah. And that's, it's horrible. That first day is always horrible. And if it's the only day you have, then it's just horrible.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's nice to be around for a while on something. So you get a head of steam up, I mean, that's why plays, that's why plays are so rewarding.
Yeah.
You own it. You completely own it.
Yeah. And then sometimes you end up doing it for 2 years and you want to blow your brains out, but
you've done a run that long, yes?
I did 20 months was the longest run that I did. Yeah. 8 a week.
What?
8 a week for 20 months.
Yeah. The longest I did was 5 months, and I was ready to just bash my head against the wall.
Yeah. But nine of those 20 were with Lisa Emery. So, that's not the worst thing in the world. And another 3 of the 20 were with Dana Delaney. And that's not the worst thing in the world either.
No, it is not. No, it is not. But I mean, I really, I don't know. I say to friends of mine, I don't know if I'll ever do another play again. I hope that's not true, but some of that is informed obviously by the present pandemic situation, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm preparing myself for that possibility that I just might never do another play again.
Well, That would be a terrible loss.
Yes, well, it would. I'd like to do it again. I'd like to do it again somewhere. Don't know where,
Yeah.
but somewhere.
Well, we're going to hope it comes back.
Please.
Yeah.
If all the people in New Jersey get their vaccines, then there's going to be a Broadway audience.
Right there. Right there. And the people in Coconut Grove, so we can do the out-of-town tryout.
Please, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it could. I mean, there's hubbub about, you know, shows coming back this the September, October of 2021. You know, I guess it could. It could.
Hmm.
You know?
Well, it makes you glad for all those classes in mask work.
I only had one. God, it was fun.
I never did any. We didn't have mask work classes in law school.
You did, but it was probably called something else.
It was called redaction. We were classes in redacting documents. Yeah. That's what we did. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go enjoy the rest of the evening with the lovely Anne.
Thank you.
And it has been great having you on. Thank you for helping me fill yet another pandemic evening.
Hey, my pleasure. This was fun. I'd do this anytime.
And join us Wednesday night when we're talking about Darker Than Amber on our other show, the Arkin Brothers Talk About Movies. Darker Than Amber, starring Rod Taylor, 1970, the first Travis McGee movie from the John D. MacDonald Travis McGee novels.
1970, Rod Taylor. You loved him in The Birds.
We all loved him in The Birds. How could you not?
He had an interesting niche, that guy.
Did you know he was Australian?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
He was like Richard Basehart's younger brother. Remember Richard Basehart?
Yeah, I do.
5,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Admiral Nelson.
How did he go from Ishmael to Admiral Nelson? I mean,
Well,
wasn't there? I hope he did work in between.
they're nautical.
They are. One was a whale. The other one was a big freaking squid. Remember that big squid?
Yeah. And David Hedison as Captain Crane.
We saw my family. We were in Greece. What's that?
Help me.
We were in my family. My parents took us to Greece when we were kids. And we walked into this hotel that was on this cliff, and we all walked in and we all watched 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea all the time. And we walked in, and David Hedison is walking through the lobby. And my brother and I and my sister were like, "It's Captain whoever
Crane.
he was."
Captain Crane.
We were like, Greece schmeece, who cares? Who cares about the view or the ruins? That was David Hedison.
Yeah. The flying sub.
Matthew, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for being on, and join us on Wednesday, and I'll see you at the fire pit.
Well, you won't see me till the weekend after Christmas, but I'll be there. I'll be back.
Fantastic. All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you in a bit.
Yeah. Bye.